Fantastic. Glad that you are with me, and we are live from St. Augustine, Florida, and I'm glad that you've connected here with me. A lot of folks coming on. I'm live in Facebook, and I've got a live audience today. Everybody give the Lord a clap offering of praise. Yay! Yay! If you only knew what we went through before we got started. Anyway, I'm glad that you're here, and I'm going to give everyone that's listening some important keys that I believe are foundational and transformational to your success in life. And it's just 3 letters I'm going to give you that represent 3 words. I wish I could tell you that these were originally mine, but they're part of the foundation of my existence. And we are in the process of launching an expansion of our ministry here in St. Augustine in the month of August. Coming up August 2016, we're going to be doing some new things here in St. Augustine. And we also have our college, New Covenant University, that'll be doing some great things. I just got back last night from the Bahamas where we spoke there. I'm going to be in Indianapolis next weekend, and then the weekend after that, just south of Charlotte in Lancaster, South Carolina. So I wanted to connect with you today. Wherever you're at, whatever you're watching, whatever you're doing, whether you're in business, you're running a home, you're managing your life, you have plans, you have goals, you really want to pay attention to what I'm going to teach to you today. Because this is the model, what I'm going to teach you today, this is the model that I'm using to move forward with what God's called me to do. So I'm going to give you 3 words today, 3 letters. The first letter is the letter K, And K, number 1, stands for knowledge. K stands for knowledge. It stands for knowledge. And so let me move this a little bit over here so everyone can see this a little bit better. Once again, my wife was right. I say this publicly in front of God and everybody. My wife was right. Put the camera here. Knowledge. Everyone say knowledge. Knowledge. Say knowledge. Knowledge. Hosea chapter 4 and verse 6 is a scripture that's really quoted a lot. It's out of the Old Testament, and it says, God's people are destroyed due to a lack of knowledge. He says, you've rejected knowledge, then therefore you've rejected me. So as a result of that, we have a lot of people that are dependent upon miracles. They live from miracle to miracle to miracle. They build their ministry on miracles and miracles. They build their life. They need a miracle. Now, I want to tell you, God will give you a miracle. God will give you a miracle. But your wrong thinking will put you right back in the same situation you were in. Without knowledge, you are doomed to fail. Now, how do you get knowledge? You know, who you know is determining what you know. Who you know is determining what you know. Say that with me. Who you know is determining what you know. If you know the wrong people, you're going to know the wrong stuff. If you know foolish people, you're going to know foolish stuff. I know some people that are very knowledgeable. They know all the facts of the NBA games, the Stanley Cups. They know all that kind of knowledge, but that knowledge is not helping them succeed in life unless, you work as a sports writer or you're a sports commentator. But most of the ones that I know that know all that are not. They have trained their mind to know things that are not moving them forward in life. Someone says, well, I know a little bit of this and I know a little bit of that. I know a little bit of this. Well, you know just enough to be dangerous. You need to know some very important factors. You need to know some very important factors. And we live in an age or a period of time when you can know anything you want to know. There are books, there are videos, there's the internet, There's all kinds of things that are at your fingertips for you to know anything you need to know. In fact, I'm sitting in a home that just 6 months ago was dirt on the ground. There was just dirt here. There wasn't a foundation. There wasn't anything 6 months ago. I'm sitting in a home that is now a beautiful, finished product. It's my home. I'm happy about that. But in order to pull this home together, there were some things I had to know. I had to start talking to people who knew what I didn't know. And that's the key to mentorship. How do you know what you need to know? You got to find mentors. A mentor is someone who knows what you don't know. A mentor is someone who's been where you haven't been. And so I have people today that are contacting me saying, Dr. Kreitz, I'd like to come work with you. I'd like to come connect with you and spend time with you. I'd like to invest my time in you so that I can learn from you, so that I can go out and I can start a ministry or start a church, or I can be successful in some areas of business. I remember years ago, in 2007, when the recession began to hit the country, we were very successfully international. And I remember studying financial issues. Unless the recession comes from outside of the United States, other countries are like the tail to the dog. In other words, when something happens in the United States, it usually takes a while for it to catch on. And because we were so vested in a foreign nation, it took a couple of years for that recession to hit the other countries. So I made a strategy and a plan to be successful. And so now we're rolling along. We've bridged that period of time, and now we're rebuilding here in the United States, and some great things are taking place. The next letter I want to give you is S. Number 2 is S, and that is for strategy. Everyone say strategy. 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 Knowledge and strategy. Now, a strategy is not a plan. A strategy is not a plan. Most people have a plan, and when the plan doesn't work out, they throw their hands up in the air and say, now what? This was our plan. A strategy is when you strategize and you say, I'm going to do this, and if this doesn't work out, I'm going to do this, and if this doesn't work out, I'm going to do this. In fact, there's a famous saying going on right now that plan B is the most successful strategy you can always have. Plan B is the most successful, because a lot of times plan A does not work. Plan B doesn't work. Plan C, you always have to have a strategy. You always have to be prepared to go to the next route. So a strategy is not a plan. By the way, let me tell you this and write this down. Hope is not a plan. Hope is not a plan. There are some people who say, well, I hope this is going to work out. That's not a plan. Hope is not a plan. You've got to get a strategy together. You need knowledge. You need strategy. And number 3, E, execution. Execution. You need to know when to pull the trigger. Most folks have no problem with number 3, unless they're fearful, procrastinators, or whatever. Most people are ready to pull the trigger. Something's going on, let's make a move. Let's do this. The problem is they don't have a strategy and they don't have knowledge. There's a lot of people I know that have knowledge, but they're afraid to pull the trigger. They won't execute. You've got to have all 3 of these things in order to make it in life. You've got to have all 3 of these things to be successful in life. You have to have knowledge, you have to have a strategy, and you have to know how to execute. You have to know how to pull the trigger. It's very, very important that you pull the trigger at the right moment, not ahead of time. Don't delay, don't go premature, but there is a perfect timing. Everyone say timing, is everything. Timing is everything. You're listening to me today, you're watching me today, and you have some knowledge based about the experiences and the mentorship that's in your life. Maybe you've learned from some books you've read, some pastors you've listened to, maybe some things you've seen on television or videos. You've created a strategy. You say, this is what I want to do. This is my strategy. Maybe you've even tried that strategy and it didn't work out. Maybe it failed miserably. And so you've thrown your hands up. Well, that was a plan. That wasn't a strategy. The plan failed. But you have to have a foolproof strategy. They never send someone on a rocket into outer space with just one plan. There is multiple strategies that get them back to Earth. Finally, you've got to execute. You've got to pull the trigger. You've got to pull the trigger. You've got to know that this is the time. Now, one of the things I want to encourage you by faith is to say this: it's my time and it's my season. I want you to believe that with the knowledge you have and with the strategy that God's given you, is that you say, this is my time. There are a lot of people that spend their whole life strategizing and never live in the fulfillment of their time. They live in one day. One day we'll do this, one day. I want to tell you, whatever your worthwhile goal is, maybe it's a vacation, maybe it's a trip, maybe it's an experience, maybe it's something you want to do, maybe it's writing a book, and you've got the knowledge and you've strategized to do it, but you've never executed it. You've never actually got that thing published. Well, no publisher would publish it. No publisher published my books when I started, so I self-published. Now, years later, I've sold tens of thousands of books. Tens of thousands of books. My books have gone to other countries. My books have, I found out, have been translated. I have people selling my books on Amazon, and I'm not even selling them. What's happened? A book can go where you can't go, and a book can stay where you can't stay. You have to execute on your dream. You have to execute on the vision you have in life. Prosperity is not waiting for you to bump into it. Prosperity is not waiting for you to rub up alongside of it. You're going to have to maintain and keep your knowledge base strong. You're going to have to create a strategy that will work. You say, well, I've gone this route. I've tried this. It doesn't work. Well, then try something else. Try a different direction. Step back. Think outside the box. And then finally, execute. Execute and see what's going to happen in your world. All right, I want to pray with you, and we're going to wrap this teaching time up today. I want you to know my website is paulcrites.com, paulcrites.com. And if I can ever serve you, I want to do that. If I can ever help you in any way, I want to do that. There are people sitting here in my living room, family room, and I've been teaching here this morning, and I want to pray with them, and I want to pray with you that God will help us. God will help us to successfully execute the plans that we have, successfully execute the vision that God has for us here in St. Augustine. We have the knowledge, and we definitely have a strategy. We now just need to know the timing of God, the perfect timing of God to execute. Also, God wants to see things executed in your life come to full fruition. There's some dreams that you have, some plans you have, some desires you have. I want to pray with you right now, those of you here in the room, those of you that are watching, and I want to ask God to help you by faith to take the next step, whatever it is, knowledge, strategy, or execution, whatever it is, that God will give you the wisdom to know how to do this. So, Father, I thank you right now for every person that is here in my home and every person that's watching this teaching today. And I ask that you would help them right now, that they would have faith like they've never had before. There would be just a deposit of great faith into their life